Okay, we're going to do the notes for Unit 4, Lesson 9, Can We Name It? Where we will address the guiding question, how are covalent compound names different from ionic compound names? So we've already talked about ionic compounds in the Section 1 workbook. We are covering covalent compounds in the Section 2. This is tied into the activity for pages 16 and 17. So in this, we looked at binary covalent compounds, which are compounds that contain two elements that are both non-metals, compared to ionic compounds where we have a non-metal and a metal. Non-metals can combine in a variety of ways, so we need to indicate how many of each non-metal are present in a compound using prefixes. You may need to change your page number to page 16 to reference those prefixes. You need to memorize them. When naming, we use the following rules. Put a prefix on the first element to indicate how many. Then the element name unchanged beyond adding the prefix, followed by prefix for the second element indicating how many, and change the ending to IDE. The only exception to this rule is the use of mono on the first element, that we will never use mono on the first element. So if it's the first element and there's only one, there is no prefix. Horribly enough, the way I remembered it was mono is bad on the first date. So no mono on the first. Okay? Got it? So some examples. I don't know if I pre-did examples because you're not winning. Okay, no examples pre-done. So we are going to wing it. B2H7. How would we name this? Diboron. And then 7 is hepta. Hydrogen becomes hydride. If we have CH4, no, hydrogen's boring, let's change it. Br4. Yep, carbon, no prefix on the first because it's only one, so no mono on the first. And then we continue on to the next one. We say how many, tetra. And then we write the element name, bromine becomes bromide. So for covalent compounds, some things to note is that you indicate how many there are in the name, and the ending will always end in IDE, and this is for binary covalent. We won't talk about anything beyond binary covalent compounds. Okay. Going the other direction, if we had disulfur pentoxide, we identify the elements present, so sulfur and oxygen. Di means two, so 2 sulfurs, and pent or penta means 5, so 5 oxygen. I would not mark off if you write pentaoxide and put the A, but technically because it's 2 vowels next to each other, they drop the prefix vowel. So like monoxide, you won't double the O's. You won't write MONOXIDE. You would just drop one O and monoxide. If you had dioxide, does keep the vowel. So there are some parts where we drop the vowel. There are some parts where we keep it. So like heptaoxide would be heptoxide. hex oxide. So like the A's drop, the O's drop. There is no E. They keep the I's. So trioxide stays. Cool. So at the bottom of page, the note should be page 15 because I know how to update the slides. At the bottom of page 15, make sure you answer the guiding question. How are covalent compound names different from ionic compound names? Please make sure you are focusing on the key differences because that is where you will get the most confusion. Some of the things that people will do is use prefixes for ionic compounds. We don't. Ionic compounds are named and formed based off of very specific charge ratios. Other things I have seen is using Roman numerals in covalent compound names. Roman numerals indicate a charge. Covalent compounds have no charge. So be considerate and thinking about those because I will be checking, especially on the midterm, whether or not you know the differences.